You know, the past is awfully important because without the past, we don't have any future. You know, we were a struggling middle-class family, but I think some of the things that rubbed off was the interactions that my parents had by the jobs that they held. I grew up in a mixed neighborhood. And like I say, we were in and out of each other's houses. We didn't go to school together. And, you know, never did I give a thought of why I couldn't go to a school that's a half a block from my house, where my white and Hispanic friends are going to school. I always maintained, and I still maintain to this day, and I tell a lot of my dear white friends, I had a better grade school education than you did, because the people that taught me couldn't do anything but teach. They couldn't hope to be principals, they couldn't hope to be counselors, they couldn't hope to be anything going up the educational system. All they could do would be to go back to school. My favorite teacher probably was a lady by the name of Montgomery. Tough, just like a drill sergeant. But she was very kind outside of the classroom. I mean, you know, you could get away with things. But in the classroom, she was pretty stern. Over at East Topeka Junior High School was where this black basketball team practiced. So I grew up with my dad and my uncle running that gymnasium, opening it up and cleaning it up and that, in there playing ball and learning the game from these older guys. I leave East Topeka and I was learning the game, and when I went to Topeka High, and I'm going to get into the winter season, we were getting ready to start playing basketball. You know, the name of Trojan was foreign to me. All I knew was a Rambler. I was going to be a Rambler. We had a nice place to play. We had uniforms. We had coaches. We traveled. We had everything that the white team had, other than we did it at a separate building. Again, separate but equal. High school king and queens, king and courts, high school parties and all those things, they were all separate. I get my yearbook out today and I look back through it. I look at all my white counterparts. They're all in individual photos, shooting, doing whatever, the individual photos. The Ramblers is just a group photo. That didn't mean much, didn't mean anything then, but it certainly, as I look at it today, was part of that mindset. But let me also say, never was I aware of it enough to challenge it. You know, even when I was in high school, I didn't want to go down to the cafeteria and dance with all them white kids with some guy playing a guitar and a fiddle. I wanted to hear some piano, some saxophone, and some mood music. Only one time was I ever introduced as a basketball player from the Topeka High School gym. And that was when I think it was their 100th anniversary or some anniversary they had, and they brought all the classes and all the athletes back. Well, I was in the class of 49. And that year, only one of the guys off of the white team came back, a gentleman by the name of Henry Butch Alberg. We made him an honorary Rambler, and he walked with us at that presentation. If it was a small restaurant selling hamburgers, you could go in there and get a hamburger but you had to go to the door and they'd give it to you in a sack, and away you'd go. Signs of times were certain areas that you sat in the theater. Now the rest of the seats might be half empty, but when your section filled up, they quit selling tickets. I couldn't swim at Gage Park. I was a lifeguard at City Park. In my neighborhood, we had a black drugstore. Washington's drugstore. We had restaurants. We had a skating rink. We had a place where they danced, and those are just a few of the businesses. Grocery stores. Those were in just the little neighborhood which we now know in Topeka as East Topeka. At that time it was named, the name was Mudtown. And primarily the reason it was named Mudtown, that very few of the streets were paved. Kind of in the area there from Kansas Avenue down to, say, Monroe, 4th, some going up 4th, let me just say 4.5, or up to 5th Street, then down probably to 2nd and 3rd. All the things that you kind of find in a mall today were right there in that corridor. And of course we lost that whole corridor when urban renewal come through the city. A famous singer by the name of Paul Robeson is appearing at Topeka High School. Don't ask me what year this is, but I would say somewhere in the 40s, late 40s. Anyway, one of the opportunities that I had was to deliver Paul to the Topeka High School, and then back. He actually stayed at the Camden Hotel. But the point that I wanted to make for you was the entrance to the Camden Hotel was on 9th Street. When I bring Paul back, I have to let him off at the alley, and the alley is east of the hotel. The next building is, I think it was the YWCA or the YMCA. He had to go down the alley and go through the back door. Just did a performance at Topeka High School. And it just so happened a couple of guys that were supposed to go to the Navy dropped out. My buddy and I got the opportunity. Said, can you be ready? We're out of here. So that's how we got to the Navy. My Navy experience was a wonderful, growing experience. Very few, I was around very few non-whites. I'm in boot camp, and we're getting ready to come out of boot camp, and you go to this big building and find out what your next duty station is. Well, I find my name, and I'm going to storekeeping school. I don't even know what that is. And so I get my chief to the side, and I say, you know, I see I'm going to this, to that. I said, okay. He said, Jack. I said, don't worry about it. He said, you'll be all right. And I said, well, what is it? He said, that's actually all it is warehousing. And I said, well, you know, don't they look at our background? I said, I got a communications background. He said, oh yeah. And they looked at it. And I said, well, how come I'm not able to continue that route? His classic to me was Jack. The military was just desegregated in 1948. This is April 1952. The Navy don't know it yet. And so I proposed to him, I said, if you give me the opportunity to take communication tests, I don't care how many people take it or how few take it. If I don't finish in the top 5%, I'll be the best storekeeper the United States Navy had. I had the skills. I couldn't open a door. To my dying day, I say he kicked the door open for me because I spent my 4 years in the United States Navy in communications. But those kind of things started to shift and turn in a lot of things throughout the city. You know, I mean, one thing just kind of led to the other. I think once it was here, it was here. I think it was for the best. I think the tragedy was that it was slow. Prior to that time, firemen only had one station. They were all black people at this one station, where all the black firemen were. And as they do that, some of them were high-ranking officers. Now we're getting into these guys now having to go into these other stations, and there are people there who don't want a black officer in their station. I was the first African-American ever elected in the city of Topeka. And I'm very proud of that, don't get me wrong. But don't forget what year that was. That was 1972. When I realized that he's serious, as well as the union is serious, I said, whoa, now, you know, this ain't gonna work. This ain't never been, it ain't gonna be there, so I don't think we ought to do that. And they said, we say we want to do it, and we say we want to do it with you. Alf Landon endorsed me. They sent me to talk to Alf once. And Alf was over here at the radio station over on 10th Street. Went in, had a nice visit with him, and was looking for a donation, not donation, was looking for an endorsement. And he said, young man, I think, you know, you've got a lot to offer. You would be the kind of person I'd like to see in the office. He said, but I've never endorsed anyone. And I thought, you know, that's great, fine. I've done what they told me to do. And I get up to leave, I got to the door. And he said, come on back and sit down a minute. I went and sat back down. He said, you know, I'm going to be an old man. It's time I make a change. Alf Landon endorsed me. Now, to show you how smart I am, you think show you how smart I am. To endorse me, it cost you $5 because we didn't have no money. Alf wrote me a check. What would that check be worth today? That was a grand experience, and from there, with the luck that and the people that I met and things, you know, it just went on into some other political kind of things, and you know, I've lived a charmed life. I've been the right rat at the right hole a lot of the right times. After I leave city government in 1985, fully intended to go back and do some things with Goodyear, I get called and they want me to come to the Department of Health and Environment and do some consulting work for them. And I did and loved it, loved it. While working at Health and Environment, I get called down to the then governor's office. Darn female governor by the name of Joan Finney, who I had just finished working with at the city of Topeka when she was the assistant to my dear friend Mayor McCarthy. There's very few women on the roster of the Kansas Corporation Commission, and lo and behold, up the black guy. Wonderful job, wonderful experience. I had a great time there. I think I was the first African American to be president of the Kansas League of Municipalities. You know, I just think that at some point in time, we have to take a holistic look at where are we going and how we're going to try to get there. Some people feel that, well, you did this to my grandma or my grandpa, so you owe me. No. Or we was able to do this because. You know, I think it's time that we lay it all out there, balance the scale, give everybody the same shot. You know, I never thought that I would live long enough to ever see a black president. Barack Obama has been everything that I would have imagined, that if I had to design an individual to sit in that chair, I think he brought all of those things there, and he is such a class act. If there is one person out there, irregardless of race, that looks at where I've been and what I've done and says, if that dude can do it, I can do it, I'd be blessed.